It is now 7.
Excuse me.
It is now about 2 minutes after 7. It will be noted that whenever I call a meeting for a certain time, 5 minutes is the maximum that I allow for people to get in. I know this is a work night, but we're going to get started. We start and end of the same night that we begin. My practice is that meetings that last over 2 hours, that's not a meeting. That people lose their attention span. That you have a meeting, you start on time. If this meeting start on time, it's 7 o'clock. 8:30, all the business that we need to attend to can be. My name is Hazel. I'm the president of the New York State Conference of Branches. Sitting with me is Wilbert Albridge, the regional director for this area. Sitting over to my right is my confidant and mentor, Paul Red, who serves as at-large regional person for us, and this is his home, this is his area, and we asked Paul to come, and I've asked Yvonne Burke to be responsible for the sign-in sheet, which says the name, your address, your telephone number if you so desire, and your email address if you so desire. We are now into the 21st century where what work that we have to do, if you go by the postman, it's over with by the time you get it. So we try to use email or fax, so if you so desire. Let me tell you, under the direction of the national office, this is a reactivation meeting. That means that there's no officers. No officers. None whatsoever. There is no election tonight, and won't be for a while, because there are certain things that have to be done. We invited not only persons that we saw, we have the membership roster from national office, we saw life members, those persons we sent emails to, we saw members, we went back as far as 2002. Those are the persons who received up to people who had sent in by at large and by the internet to become members at large. Some people said they wanted to be members of the Ossining branch, some don't. And that's what I'll get into. 4 years ago, Merle Evers, our former chair of the NAACP, decided that NAACP needed to have a look at itself. And we went to Harvard University, free of charge, for some people to sit with us and look at where we are. We are now going into the 100th year of the association in 2009. And so we wanted to look at ourselves, take an inside look at NAACP, see where we are, what we need to do in this 21st century. After 4 years of that, NAACP came up with a strategic plan with 10 points. 10 points. First, following our Constitution and our bylaws that states clearly, membership, any person in accordance with the principles and policies of the association may become a member with the consent of the board of directors. Such person shall become a member by agreeing to abide by the rules and policies of the association and the division of the board of directors, and by paying in advance the annual membership fee established by the board of directors. Each one of you can obtain a constitution, if you like, for a price. It is sold at national. It is the guide of the association. It is the Bible of the association. It means what it says about how people become a member, how they stay a member of the association, not just by dues, but by the policy. Under the national board with its 64 members of the board of directors, comes what is known as state conference. There are 34 people, like I am, across this nation, 34 of them. Under those 34, there are branches under the direction. The state conference, by the Constitution, is to set forth its mission and policy for the persons, for the branches within, under their jurisdiction. That means that whatever the state conference goals and objectives are, each branch in that jurisdiction must follow what those goals say. In order that there wasn't to be any confusion, now there is a mandatory training for persons who are elected and serve on the executive committee. You cannot be sworn in if you do not take mandatory training. The mandatory training is that you can't say you don't know. The mandatory training is that you do know, because you can't take the oath of office unless you have completed the mandatory training. So we had this kind of nonsense going on across the country. People didn't know what they were supposed to do, so the board of directors put in mandatory training. And you cannot become an officer. You might get elected, but if you do not go through the mandatory training, you cannot. After the mandatory training, there is what is called a regional. That regional is staffed by a national person. Each year, there's a regional conference where the national staff train people who say they are committee chairpersons. If you're the chair of the education committee for a branch, you are expected to attend that workshop because you will be certified. They give out certificates for persons. If you're the treasurer, because there's a lot of work with treasurers now, you have to file a financial report to national yearly. Have to be filed by March 31st. Several years ago, the IRS went into NAACP, didn't know, I guess you read what they did. Okay, so now we have a tight range. Treasurers must be accountable. And to be accountable, they have to file a financial report with the national office with a copy to the state conference. Those are the rules that you have to go by. Whatever position, even if you become an executive committee member, you have to be trained before you are certified to be anything at this point in the NAACP. That's the first thing. Third thing that we need to understand. The state conference in January of each year set out goals for branches to follow. 5 goals that is to work with. The national office have set what they call accountability. That means that a branch must submit to the state conference monthly meetings, how many people was in attendance, and what happened at that meeting. A secretary is key. Memberships. Memberships are due to be returned into the national office within 15 days of receipt. All of this is in this little book. It's a small book, but it's a lot of stuff in it. 15 days in receipt of any membership, whether it's 1, whether it's 2, it is to be recorded and submitted to the national office. Fourth, officers, presidents is not the rule of the branch. The executive committee is the power of the branch. Any action must be approved by the executive committee. This is not a one-man show, one-woman show. The executive committee have the power. No money can be spent, no action can be taken unless it has been approved by the executive committee. No demonstration, no public demonstration can be held without the approval of the state conference, the regional and national office. Why? NAACP name is synonymous with the world. People sue, they don't sue the committee of. They don't sue John Doe. They sue the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. We've been sued. So, no demonstration about no issue can be taken unless in the regional office, the state conference knows, and then it's approved by the national. But it have to have the consent of the regional and the state before national will send any approval back locally. I would say to you that each of you, we will take this attendance sheet tonight, see how many persons were members, because we asked that Ossining come. The branch is chartered to represent Ossining. Ossining respected area. It is to address the issues in Ossining. Not in Mount Vernon, because Mount Vernon has its branch. Not in White Plain, because White Plain has a branch. Not in Portchester Rye, there is a president in Portchester Rye. It is to talk about the issues that affect Ossining. What are the issues that we laid out? Education, access to quality education, equity for the school districts, health care, access to quality and affordable health care. We don't say political action anymore. It's civic engagement. What does that mean? That means that our national office put out a report card on how your senators and how your congressperson vote on issues. That is transmitted down to you to look at your local, county, state legislatures. The state conference go to Albany every year to our mobilization. We have met with the governor, with the legislators, with chairs of committees to talk about issues. Funding. We are part of the suit of the campaign for fiscal equity. That is to get money for schools in predominant African American communities where they don't get the same as Scarsdale. They don't get the same as other rich counties, other rich places. So that suit has been going on for 10 years. The outgoing governor, Pataki, said an 8th grade education was good enough. He forgot that you had to have a high school education for a civil service job. But that's how arrogant he was. And so we've been on that case. That case has been up to the appellate division. It's now still there where this governor won't. But I understand that from people who are in the education arena said that they have met with Elliot Spitzer, which we haven't, as NAACP. We will at our state convention. We've been inviting him to come. That he said that would be one of his priorities, to sell this suit on education. Housing. Housing is the big problem in this state because we see that developers are coming in, getting the prime areas, and not building affordable housing. They're building condos and rents out of the whack of any of us in this room tonight. So we must continue to fight that the state, the federal government, continue to build affordable housing. People shouldn't have to leave until they're ready to leave New York. There ought to be enough housing for all people, regardless of race, creed, or color, and that's what the NAACP stand on. its mission is to eliminate, it says here in its first preamble, it is to the preamble, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, hereafter referred to as the NAACP, of the association, was found on the belief embedded in the Constitution of the United States of America. We support democracy, dignity, and freedom. Members of the NAACP, in keeping with the charge of our founders, and against all form of injustice, the United States of America, built by us all, belong to all of us. The repayment for our labor is equity and justice for all. The NAACP will continue to fight for justice until all, regardless to race, gender, creed, or religious belief, enjoy equal status. NAACP vision statement. The vision of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to ensure a society in which all individuals have equal rights and there's no racial hatred or racial discrimination. NAACP mission statement. The mission of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons, and so to eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination. The name of the corporation shall be the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. That is what the preamble of this association is and what it stands for. This meeting is to see if Ossining, not a few, if Ossining, the community, want an NAACP branch. That means that people, NAACP is a membership organization. You must pay $30 to be a member. It's not a user organization. It's an organization for people to come together, discuss issues that affect their respective community. And the respect of all people's views are to be heard. So, I have given outline for you the preamble. I've given to you the mission statement and what it is. You undoubtedly had an interest because you came tonight. I'd like to hear from the members of the Ossining community. We have two former presidents here. We have 5 former presidents here. That's remarkable. Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Does this include Peekskill also?
No, sir.
Only Ossining?
Yes, sir. Peekskill has its own branch.
I didn't know that.
Peekskill has its own branch. Yeah, Peekskill, Mr. Robert Spencer, is the president of the Peekskill branch, doing a great job over there. He's involved in a suit on environment racism, got the support of the national office, Robert Spencer. So this branch is the Ossining branch.
Right.
Now people can join, but you cannot bring Peekskill concerns to Ossining.
Right. All right.
Peekskill concerns stay and speak Peekskill. Huh? Yeah, you can be a member. You'll be a member of 600 branches.
You can live in Peekskill or anywhere else and be a member here and be concerned with the concerns here. Is that correct?
Well, you can be concerned here, but by voting to make an issue of what the people in Ossining want, it should be the community of Ossining.
No, that wasn't my question. I'm sorry. My question is, if you don't live in Ossining, can you become a member of the Ossining branch and be working with the Ossining people with the concerns of Ossining?
Yeah, but why would you, if you live in a community where there's a branch, and you pay tax dollars for that branch, you pay tax dollars in that community, where they have the same problem as Ossining. It's not a sacred community in America where African Americans are and other minorities and poor folks that don't have the same problem. So why would Ossining need somebody from another area to come and carry its banner? The people who live in Ossining, who vote for the people in Ossining, who pay tax dollars in Ossining, whose children go to school in Ossining, whose children get arrested in Ossining, who grandparents can't get affordable health care in Ossining, they ought to be the one raising up, getting this branch where it ought to be, as an active branch. That's why I'm here. Yes, sir.
My name is George Thornton. We do
Stand up, Mr. Thornton.
we do form another branch. Are we gonna get the same response from the national that we got before? I mean, when we had issues here, national was very slow doing their job, you know, and I think that got a lot of people upset, and that's why the branch broke apart. You know, are we gonna get the same response? I mean, you know.
Well, you know what? I can tell you now, there's not a telephone call that comes to my office. Hilda, first of all, Ossining got a problem. There's two places it should go first. It should go to the state office, and it should go to Hilda Rogers. And I'm proud to tell you that under my tenure, there had never been a state office with staff. We have staff. It's open 5 days a week from 9 to 6 and sometimes 10 o'clock at night. So I don't know the problems that you're talking about, but I can tell you now, if it went to Hilda Rogers, first it ought to come to me. I'm the state president. Like it or not, people come and they vote me in or vote me out. But I was voted in, so I'm still there for a while. Okay? So that's the procedure. See, we have to follow protocol. We have to follow process. We have to follow process. Some people don't like, discipline. You know, some people want to be everything, all over the map. Okay? But here, and under Bruce Gordon, I hope I don't see Paul's articles that he's written the last 2 months about Bruce Gordon. We got a man who came out of corporate America. People say, you know what he was doing? He's on the right track to keep this association alive and ready. And he's calling for accountability. And I'm saying, I don't know. If you can give me your issues or tell me what you're talking about, I'll be ready. I see another hand, and I'm coming to in the back over there. I see 2 hands. I see. Okay. Who else over here? Yes, ma'am. Wait, no, I can't get you 2 because I got to go for her. Then Mr. Young. Yes, ma'am. You next.
Okay. I'm here because first of all, I want to understand why was this chapter disbanded in the first place, and I also want to find out why would an organization like the NAACP limit the issues that you spoke of and not include several, issues in concern to youth and other people like police brutality. I mean, that's rampant in this state and
I didn't
all
say
across.
absolutely.
You never mentioned it once.
Well, police brutality, we had cases on it. We've done it for youth. We've had a youth chapter here where the kids here, under Miss Baylock time, Ossining had a wonderful youth council. They were very involved in the NAACP. So we didn't disband. The community let it disband. The community let it didn't disband because if it's disband, you wouldn't be here tonight. Your charter would have been pulled. Okay? The charter is still here. But because the charter is here, until certain things is done, it's not. Police brutality is 1 hour. Let me tell you, Simmons did not get the Rockefeller drug law, okay, where it is today. It's not good, but it's better than it was. Allen Newton, a young man who spent 24 of his 42 years in prison, he will be speaking to us. We are working now, putting together the enactment with members of the Black and Puerto Rican and Asian Legislative Caucus to get a felony act so our people can vote. There are many things we're working on in the NAACP. We don't call it political action anymore. We call it civic engagement. And that's the things that the state conference lay out every year in January on the issues, and police brutality is one. Fred Brewington has been to our workshop, one of the noted attorneys who've had cases all across the state.
Okay, you said the chapter, the Ossining charter is still in existence. Then why would you need to have a new election if the charter is in existence? What was wrong with the old leadership? I don't understand why you...
Nothing was happening. The things that I laid out, accountability, reports, attendance.
And are any of those people here from...
I don't know. I'm not looking for those people. I'm looking for the now Ossining community. I'm looking for the now Ossining community who say they are willing to be disciplined, follow the Constitution and bylaws of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. That's what the reactivation meeting is about. We've held 3 across this state this year. And that's what the meeting is about. We call on the community to tell us if they want an NAACP. We're not looking at what happened, because if it had been right, we wouldn't be here for the reactivation meeting. So we're not looking at who is where and who's who. We're talking about the community now. We're not going backwards. We're trying to go forward.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, I believe you said that the different chapters need to get approval for a demonstration. And so what would your criteria be to decide whether they could hold the demonstration or not?
The issues.
And it's the issue, which issues would it be then?
It would be issued that if take for instance, she talked about police brutality. Say a young person in here was shot that people believe was injustice by the police department. And the community got up in an outrage about it before anything was said, but the youngster was killed. We would say there are some steps need to be taken before you have the demonstration. It might be that you could have the demonstration. It might be that you could have it. But off the top of your head, because you said you want to go out and have a demonstration, that don't mean that national see it that way. There are some issues that the General Counsel will ask through the regional director or through my office. What has been the investigation? You see what happened with us? We don't keep records. How many police brutality cases? That's what we're talking about, accountability. Everybody who called the NAACP office, you don't have an office, call the president's home. That president should get from that person the name and address, and that person should be able to find their forms from the legal department that is to be filled out by a complainant, whether it's job discrimination, employment discrimination, whether it's police brutality, all those issues. That's why the person who becomes the legal redress person must be trained.
But couldn't that take quite a while?
No, it don't take quite a while. No, it can be done in an hour.
And then there could be an immediate decision?
Absolutely. We have 6 lawyers that sit in Baltimore, and they have lawyers all across the country.
And they just decide if enough procedures and powers...
If enough information is given to them, they can make a decision and hire a lawyer in New York to represent the branch. They do it all the time. But we don't take individual cases. We don't take individual cases. If that family want an attorney, that family then, our rules and regulations say we must give the name of 3 attorneys. That family makes all financial arrangements with the lawyer that they choose. They go and they speak to the lawyer. That's in writing from the legal department. That's nothing I'm making up.
So the demonstrations, though, have to be only on local issues? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. On the Ossining issues. But as long as you do it in the Ossining NAACP name, if you want to do it in some other name, that's your business. But if you're going to do it in the NAACP name, this is a sacred name. It is sacred. It is nothing to be played with. It's been around 100 years. Everybody else is gone someplace. But it has stayed through good times, bad times, whatever people say. But it's funny that people are always going to come back and use this name. Because it stands just like the oldest other names stand. So yes, it is to be protected. Yes, sir.
Yes, I served as president for a number of years and on the executive board in the past 8 years. What these brothers were speaking about, during that time, I served as the veterans coordinator. I know I sent a number of things that I was doing about what was happening at the Veterans Hospital. These brothers, both were in Vietnam, the other was in Special Forces. So when they saw me attending meetings and knew me as an NAACP person, they gravitated and wanted to belong to the NAACP because that was the only organization that they saw dealing with veterans' problems. And I just want to back up a little bit because in the past 8 years, people here today from housing that, build housing for poor people. There's people here that are former Democratic leaders and school board members. Our NAACP was basically controlled by elements of the Democratic Party. When certain people raised issues about $1 million housing going down on the river, and we wanted certain environmental improvements, it was within the NAACP that many of these people were run out. Some of these people are here today and came back because they saw that there was a new thing taking place. In terms of police brutality, I mean, there was a young brother shot and killed here. The police said that they shot him while he was standing with a gun, and they shot him 4 times. Well, the undertaker was Baker. He called my house, and I saw the pictures of Chris Malone. He was shot in the back twice, and through his face, and taking out his tongue through his neck on a downward shot. Most people told me he was laying on the ground. But there was a demonstration by the NAACP, but there wasn't any follow-through with what really happened to this brother. What I'm saying is that political parties have controlled this organization in terms of where it was going, whether they're going to deal with the environment, whether they're going to deal with housing. There are people here, when we were deactivated, we went from house to house to apartment to let people know that Section 8, their Section 8 was going to be taken away from them. They didn't believe us. I mean, they're sitting here now. We went to door to door. We put out leaflets. The Latino sister here helped us became part of the NAACP and helped us because we didn't have enough people to interpret Latin, Spanish and stuff like that. So we had people doing the work. And I agree with you. They wasn't turning in the report. I mean, we would report all the time what we were doing. They wasn't turning reports. They wasn't telling us what we had in the treasury, etc. I just want to just say one thing about, I know there was something about the Munir Abu Jamal resolution that we did in 2004. Ossining. New York State killed 645 people in the electric chair since 1889. 615 of those people were killed right here. They were murdered in Ossining, including the Rosenbergs, whose son I know and work with. We believe that they were murdered. Now, we had a youth group going into the prison back in the 70s where Steve Hawkins, the lawyer for the NAACP legal defense, came out of the Harvard. And now is an eminent lawyer on the death penalty. And certain things began to happen. So when we were approached by Pan-Africa and the international movement to free Munir Abu Jamal, who said that he was innocent, and that we looked at the documents, well, it was only natural for us to support Munir Abu Jamal. And our executive board in meetings, 1 year passed, I went to Miami Beach, and we tried to get the resolution passed and it stopped. We went to Philadelphia, and it was successful. So it's not that we went someplace to, just bring this case to the people, but we have been talking about Mumia Abu-Jamal for a long time. In 1992, I have a newspaper article where we demonstrated right here in Ossining with Bobby Mirapole, who was Ethel and George Rosenberg's son. We marched around the prison and we talked about Mumia and other prisoners that were located right down in Ossining, Attica brothers. So we are a prison town. This is a racist town. Racist.
Well, we got
And
racism everywhere.
And what happens, the political influences, you got black people that want to have a place in the political table, so they will stop us from, say, talking against the multi-millionaire Capella. And one of the most insane things that I saw, I'm going to sit down.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to.
Yeah, but I'm going to explain. We had a,
I want to explain why we're here.
We had a functional educational committee. And for them to stop it and put somebody to take over the educational committee that was going to bring about some kind of stereotype to our thing that we had fought for years was a disgrace. And so the organization fell apart because the people weren't coming.
Well, the people make up the NAACP. I said if the people in Yonkers want an NAACP branch, there's no political party can control the branch. If the people in Ossining want an NAACP branch and want to speak on the issues that confront them in Ossining, education, we have a call to action on education. There is timetables on a school district for hiring certified teachers. There's a timetable for the school. It's all in black and white from the national office. I'm saying to Ossining, as I said to Glen Falls, as I said to Rochester, as I said to Oneida County, if the community want a branch, the community then elects its officers, the community then elects its executive committee, the membership approve the persons that is brought forth to be chairpersons. Nobody can choose them and they can't be appointed by the Constitution. By the Constitution. If the president want to appoint John Henry to be the political action chair, it's not political action anymore, it's the civic engagement, that person must be approved by the executive committee and the general membership. This book says this, not me. So the community ought to know who will fight for their community, who will stand up for their community, whether they be Democrat or Republican. We don't have no permanent friends. And we don't have any permanent enemies. We just have people who have our permanent interests. That's what I was taught in NAACP. People have a right to belong to any party they want to. We don't discriminate because a person is a Democrat or Republican. What we yell about is their policy. If their policy deny all the people the right to participate in the living in a community, that's what we fight about. We fight about not that they're Democrat or they're Republican, but if their policy denies anyone an equal opportunity, that's when we raise hell. Okay? That's when your voice is heard. Not because they're a Democrat, not because they're Republican, not because they're Italian, not because they're Jewish, not because they're Irish, because this organization is open to everybody who believe in freedom. The book says so. But we fight with people who deny us our rights. I don't give a damn who they are. Okay? I take on anybody that deny children, senior citizens, poor people, and granting people their rights. I don't care about them. I have been in the White House. Carter, Clinton, Mario Cuomo, okay? Call the roll. I've been in their face. We go to Albany every year. I didn't start this. Under Paul Red, under Gene Reed. Francine has worked in this association. So the branch is the community. Anything that didn't go down in this community is on this community. It's the people who live here, work here, raise their children here. They the one, not me coming from New York City. If you need me here, yes, I'm supposed to come. But you're supposed to have your own leaders here to speak out for you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I see you. Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
for allowing me to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Everybody tonight.
Okay. I help a lot of people to join organizations. And the people, when I put them on the website for the NAACP, they fill out all the information, and it just kind of matter-of-factly asks them, do you have a preferred branch, chapter?
Yes.
They're never designated to the chapter that they live in. It's a federal
Yes.
organization, and they're allowed to participate in any branch that they would like to.
All but
So
one
I
thing.
find
Hold on one thing.
May I just finish, please? So I
Okay.
find that if there's a stipulation and you want people to only function in their neighborhood, then they should put this in writing. Because I have helped over 100 people to sign up for the NAACP. And some of them are lifelong members. And it was never, the way the reading goes, I never got the understanding that they had to participate where they live. So I think somebody, if that's the way it is, somebody need to go back and look at the paperwork.
Okay, let me just tell you this. A lot of people don't want to belong to a branch. They want to be a member of the NAACP. If people ought to know that there's a branch of the community. If they don't, that's again the onus on the leadership. That's what Mr. Gordon is saying. Everybody ought to know if an NAACP branch is in a community, it ought to be listed in the yellow page, with not that person's phone number, but with the branch phone number. That phone ought to be used especially for that. If you got any people, lifelong members, no, we just got internet up 2 years, so ain't no lifelong members in there.
Yeah, lifelong membership can get on and become.
Yeah, but I'm saying now,
$750.
yeah, but they want to get out of a branch, they can do that. But I'm saying if you have gotten people to join the NAACP, you have their name and address, they want to be a member of the Yonkers branch, of the Ossining branch, all you got to do is send it to my office, and they will become a member of Ossining branch.
But what I'm trying to say is the wording says, do you have a preferred chapter?
But they don't know they have a chapter in Ossining.
No, but I'm saying the wording on your
Yes, I understand
it
that.
says that, so it implies that you have a choice.
You do have a
You understand?
choice.
Right. So that's why people have an interest in different, chapters, and they feel like as long as they're a member, they can come and participate because they are a bona fide paid member of the NAACP. And if it's different, then it should be written down so that we would know
I
that.
most certainly will tell them that.
They should do that because
Okay.
I operate all over New York, and I didn't know that it was a problem for me to come and work with my sisters and brothers who are also members of the NAACP here in Ossining. And they should really make it clear if that's the way it is.
Well, that's the way it is.
It is not
When you
written
get
like
the
that.
Constitution, when you get the Constitution, it says branches are chartered for their respective, that word is in here, respective area. A lot of people don't want to belong to the branches. In order for people to belong to the NAACP, we have a large category. That means that they are at-large members. When it comes to vote, your membership card should have the OSBI to elect officers for OSBI. You should have a membership card that have the OSBI number on it to vote for officers in OSBI.
Well, they need to rewrite that and make it clear to
Okay,
us.
well,
because
we
it's not
will.
clear. It's not-
That's the rules. I can't change them tonight. somebody else before you.
I just had a question.
Yeah, she, and then I'm coming to you and back to
Going
you.
back to what Sundiata Sadiq was saying, and I've also been part of this branch for a while. When there is either intentional or unintentional apparent corruption or misguidance on the part of the leadership or the people that are calling the meetings and not informing other members of the meetings and that kind of thing, and we go to the regional and to the state for help, and that doesn't come, what are we to do then?
You don't go. This book says, and let me find it, how you bring a complaint. You have to sign your name to the complaint. You have to say what your complaint is.
When we ask the regional directors, please come to the Ossining meeting to help us, and they don't come, I mean, then we go to you? I mean, that's my question.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't have gone to the regional. You should have come to me. I'm the state conference president. The regional is a national person.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, you were copied in on everything, I know you were.
If I didn't do it, when you invited me, then you go to the region.
Okay.
If you
So
ask the
you're saying
state,
this, Mr. Aldrich is actually a,
She's not referring to me.
no.
She's referring to Hilda Rogers. You talking
Okay.
about my, okay.
Okay, his role, yes. If you send for me, I have the authority to designate Mr. Aldrich to come. Before him, Herman Keith.
Mr. Keith in the past, which is the
Right.
son I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
We were begging for help, and we weren't getting it.
Well,
What the Herman Key?
I didn't know anything about it, but the book tells,
We were copied in on a lot of those emails and things like that, about what do we do, what is the procedure?
the procedure is, that's the reason I would say that everybody who's interested in reactivating this branch should get this book. And read this book, because it tells you how to bring charges.
And has phone numbers of people and.
No, the phone number is me. It has the national office. But it gives the complaint. It tells you the form to bring a complaint against any member of a branch. There is a procedure in here that have to be followed for anybody to be removed or hearing about the persons in leadership.
Or guidance is really all we.
Well, of guidance, right, of guidance, either one, whatever it's about, there's a procedure. Yes, ma'am, here. Then this, and this, you, sir.
I just want to address what my dear friend Linda was talking about, and there seems to be some confusion here, and I really want to get it straight. It is perfectly legal for people from other communities to become a member of the Ossining branch if they so desire. And that is correct.
Absolutely.
Okay. The impression I think that people are getting is that that is not so, that you can only be a member of the Ossining branch if you're an Ossining resident, and I know that that is
That is not what I said.
Well,
I said this, I said they can be a member, but why do this community, why would this community want people who do not live in Austin? I'm sure it's enough people in this community with leadership skills can come and lead their community in the issues that confront
But
them.
there are people who live here, who work here, who volunteer here, who have family here, who aren't concerned about issues in this community. And there are people who, I mean, in the past,
Okay.
when there were marches and things, people didn't live in Mississippi to go down and march there or be concerned. So that.
They went there, yeah, they went there, but, excuse me, those were national issues. Those were national issues.
But there are issues that if we see in a sister community.
Excuse me, if Ossining, one thing is, you can't be an officer. Let me put it this way to you. You cannot be an officer if you don't live in this community.
Does it say that in the?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
That
ma'am.
you can be a member?
You can be a member, but you cannot hold other office. Okay? So that you can be a member. And when it's time to vote for officers in this branch, Mr. Alter will be here. Everybody card will have to have the ossining number on it to be eligible to vote.
But if you are a member by, if on your card it says 2169, the Ossining.
Yes, you can
whether
vote.
you- Okay.
That's what I
Whether
just
you
said.
get-
Ma'am, I just said that. Everybody understand. I said when it comes to election, you have to have an ossining name on your card and an ossining number, branch number on it. That's it.
Ma'am, unfortunately.
Excuse me. I'm
Unfortunately,
going
the
back.
website does not have Ossining listed. And
What?
it asks for a number of the branch, and there is no way to find an Ossining number if it's not listed. And
You
so,
know why it's not listed, sir?
I looked at it, I joined 2 days ago, okay, and it's not there, all right?
Sir,
And,
we
and- I'm just thinking, maybe you should talk to National about making sure we're back on the list, and there's an easy way to get the number, because you can't just write down Ossining. It rejects it.
you joined 2 days ago?
Well, actually, in 1966 was my first time I joined.
No, I'm talking about 66. That's gone. You gone back that far. Yes, ma'am. And then I'm coming back to this young lady. No, sir. Hands has been raised. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you've gotten very frustrated with some of the questions, but it was definitely misleading, and to me it was confusing, because I know that NAACP, and I've met with national representatives as well, in Washington and elsewhere, so I know that they've recognized members of different chapters if they're members, and you can be from any city, any community, and join a particular chapter. So it has been confusing, because we're not stupid here in this audience, and 3 people have asked about that. So it was the way you presented it initially, you kept emphasizing Ossining community, which is certainly what the target work should be. But membership can be for anywhere. Now people are asking, why would someone in another community want to join Ossining? And let me say why. As someone who belongs to another community, I went to visit Sing Sing. I spoke at the NAACP event at Sing Sing. I was invited to speak as a psychologist, as somebody who's done work around prisons and so on and so on. The NAACP chapter is in a city, in a town, whatever you call Ossining, that houses Sing Sing. That has a particular significance. And the history of this chapter has a particular significance. When this chapter initiated the resolution around Mumia Abu-Jamal, which is a death penalty issue that the national NAACP supports, the combination of the focus on Sing Sing, the focus on police brutality, on Mumia Abu-Jamal, the death penalty issue, would attract a lot of people to join. That's a positive thing. If the power of a national organization is that if I or anyone else doesn't like one chapter, you could still be a member of this organization, which has, as you say, a 100-year history and has a lot of significance, and not join your local branch if you prefer to. So I want to assert very clearly that that's legitimate, that everybody, the people who've asked the questions, the sister over there, everybody who's asked the question.
They can join this branch. I'm saying.
Please don't interrupt me.
I'm saying to
finish.
the, excuse me, no ma'am, I have a time limit here. I want to hear from the Ossining residents.
What?
Now, to tell me, the Ossining residents, I want to hear from people you can be a member of this branch. Nobody's taking that from you. I'm trying to see if the Ossining residents who live here daily, I see you, as recommended people. I want to hear from the Ossining community, people who live here, rear their children here, intend to stay in Ossining. What do they feel about the Ossining branch? Nobody's keeping anybody from being a member of the Ossining branch. But the Ossining branch will, if it's reactivated, the Ossining branch will follow the rules and regulations as outlined in this Constitution and under the jurisdiction of the New York State Conference. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Andrea, and I live in Austin. I just want to ask you one question since you're here.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you one question. For the Austin, we have the worst Austin police department here. It's very, very prejudiced. I'll take 2 minutes to ask you one question.
No, everybody.
I had a problem with the policeman one day last year. I was the overseer of this old lady that's very sick, overseer of this woman, okay. the neighbor called me because I was the overseer of this woman. The cops came. You know what they told me? What was I doing there? Instead of asking me personally, who was I, why was I there? Instead of saying, well, you know, all black people are troublemakers. That's what they said. And I don't think that was really nice of them to say because they didn't know anything about me. I'm overseer for this old lady that her sister lives way up in Poughkeepsie, and I live right down the street from this woman. And to come for the officer to come in there and say something like that, I've been hurt ever since this, and this only happened last year.
Did you file a complaint?
I wrote a nasty letter to the police department. I did everything. I couldn't get an NAACP to represent me because I called the white place somewhere. I called somebody to help me represent me because I was going to press charge and go to court with that. But I figured my
Let me ask you, here in Austin,
right in Austin, I live in
what kind of, do you have a police review?
Yes,
Okay.
it's worthless.
Yes and no.
I didn't ask what they was.
Yeah, understood.
See what I mean? I didn't ask what they was. I'm trying to get structure.
Yes.
Is there a police severe?
CPCRB.
What should have happened is that when a complaint comes, that complaint should be carried to the unit. They don't do nothing. New York City have them. They're all across the country. They don't do anything, but there's a record that they have to keep. When the NAACP asked the Justice Department, the United States Federal Justice Department, to come in, this past Tuesday, we had the Justice Department to go in to oversee the only area in New York State that is under the federal jurisdiction, which is the 10th Congressional District in Brooklyn. We asked them to go in and monitor that. We can ask the Justice Department if enough complaints is filed by the Ossining Police Department. They've done it in Philadelphia. They've done it in New York City. They've done it in the precincts in New York City. Once we file a complaint, they have to have the complaints, and if the complainter, which would be you, is still alive, they interview you as well as the police department. But there have to be a paper trail to say that there is racism is easy to be said, but under the President, United States of America, under George Bush, the Justice Department and all of them have come anti-African Americans, anti-poor, anti-minority. But we still cannot let up the fight. We cannot let up the fight. So that's the kind of thing we have to say to the community of Austin. We have to document those complaints. Then the national office, the state, as the federal, the United States under the Constitution, that's why they still there. It might not be good, but that's the Constitution. That the federal have to come in and investigate the complaints, whether it's police, whether it's housing, whether it's the mayor, any corruption. Somebody used the word corruption. If you think there's corruption going on in city government and that kind of thing, you've got to have, but you have to have verification. Somebody got to stand up. Not just say it, but they got to stand up and write it. They got to sign their name.
Well, he did write me a letter stating back from when I wrote.
Right.
I wrote a very nasty letter. He answered my letter back. But the only thing he put in there, they investigated, but they didn't investigate enough for me to do what I have to do.
Absolutely.
But I couldn't find any representative to help me out with NAACP. Nobody. I called somebody at White Plains, I think, in Greenberg. I don't think Greenberg has an NAACP.
Yes, they do. They have an
But
office.
they claimed I couldn't get anybody to help me out.
Well, let me tell you about the NAACP. And they are made up of volunteers.
I understand.
These people got jobs.
Right,
They work for a living. They don't get paid.
right.
They get cussed out, talked about, and half of the time people are not even members of the NAACP.
Right.
But they know the name and that's where they go
Right.
if something happens.
Right,
So these people is at work.
right.
Yeah. White Plains, Greensburg got a branch.
Okay.
They got an office on one prospect that is manned by a volunteer, a woman who's retired, just spoke to her today, Linda Plummer. Okay, she might not have been there when you called, but they have a phone, and it's listed. Right. But what they would have told you to do is what I'm telling you. File a complaint. They'd have asked you some questions and told you what to do.
Okay.
Right. We give out information. We are advocates. Mr. Bond said, we are advocates for civil rights.
Right.
We need to change the system. When the system don't do, that's what we have to do. And to change it, that means we have to be absolutely vigilant. When you hear or somebody else been treated that way, say, darling, you file a complaint. And then if we get enough complaints filed, that's when you can ask the Justice Department to come in. Whether it's police brutality, some police brutality cases is absolutely in your face. Alan Biala, 42 gunshots. Because he was reaching for a wallet.
Wrong because he was black.
Well, because he was black and reaching for a wallet. Right. So, yes, sir. And then, yes, sir. And then you, and then the young man who stood up and said he just joined. Yes, sir.
Just briefly on the local CPCRB, one, people can't file complaints when they go down to file a complaint. They're not given the form. They're given the runaround on occasion. They're brutalized and on one occasion thrown into jail naked overnight for a 70-some-odd-year-old man. The assistance from wherever that can be gotten is needed, not at the end of a paper trail, but like up front when they go file this form that leads nowhere. The enabling part of our law establishing the CPCRB says that the purpose of it is to, I can't remember the precise language, is to promote confidence in the village's ability to deal with problems with the police department. Not to deal with problems in the police department, but rather a perceptual one. In other words, the enabling legislation, the legislative purpose of it, is to give the impression that something is being done. It doesn't address the essence of whether something's going to be done. So people here have had a hard time up front going down there, actively discouraged from doing it. And at the end of the day, if they were to do it, to hope that they would be in a class, that might end up in federal court 8 years from now, that would be a lot of bruises and damage towards, an uncertain end with the Bush Justice Department. Or
how was this legislation passed by your local
it's a village government. In the year 2000, the people that were working on it, Randy McLaughlin, good people, but they were hired by the local village board. We have 5 Democrats now in office and have had that since 1996 with the exception of 2 years. Straight across that, this community's been gentrified. We have not had rent control. We have no rent control statute in the village of Ossining. While the worst of that happened, this chapter was suspended over essentially bureaucratic stuff. I mean, I understand the need to keep an organization, but in my view, in the perception of a lot of people in this community, the people from NAACP should have, national and state should have put the paper down on their desk and come down here and demonstrated, permission or not, to stop the people that have been driven out of this community from being driven out of this community. We have urgent needs here that are material, basic, that are not being addressed by the political system. At the county level, the same thing happens. I know Mr. Red is familiar with the county political condition.
All over the state.
Well, I'll tell you, I also am. I've been a 3rd generation in this community. I worked in that building over in White Plains for 30-some-odd years. I know all the developers and all the lawyers and all the games, where all the money is and all of that goes on. And from the county executive down to the village board here, those people are making money on our backs and driving people out. And it's the most urgent task here.
What about the voting?
Let's see, we had a primary election on Tuesday. We have 10,000 enrolled voters in the village of Ossining. There were 890 voters.
Shame on the community. Shame on the community. I don't need to come here. People died for people in this community to get up off of their rusty butt, register and go vote. So you don't need national to come here. You need the community people to get up off of their butt, go out and vote them in or out. That's the problem. That's all we need. Excuse me, sir.
I live here. Actually, I might know something about the problem too.
Unless you drive them back and forth to the polls, get your.
Well, then we need to do that. That's what we had to do. Okay, so we didn't drive enough. 800 didn't come out.
There is a
Then, so let me tell you something, community. I'm talking to Austin community now. You live here, okay? Then the indictment on that number of people going out to vote was on us. That's when we did it in the 10th Congressional District. A man moved in 3 weeks when that seat got vacant, raised more money than God. But we went out there and told that community, his money can't win it. The numbers say you can win it. And they went out there and they won. Now this community got to get mad enough to say, we ain't taking it no more. We fed up. It's the people here. I can't vote here. I can come up here and raise hell, but I can't vote. They'll say, what the hell is she up here talking about? She can't get me out of here. Have your laughing stop. You can vote. Your family can vote. Your people can vote. Can't nobody run in here and vote for you all. Voting is the essence. Voting is 3 things that happen in life. You're born, somebody writes your birth certificate, they political. You die, somebody signs a death certificate, and they political. Your water bill, your light bill, your taxes, everything is controlled by the political people, and that's the issue that Ossining ought to be concerned about.
Well,
how do we get rid of the people that is stifling us in our community don't care about it? I don't care if they're Democrats. You vote your interests.
Well,
you vote your interests.
Here's the problem in Ossining. The problem in Ossining is a historical one, and that is that people have been engaged in the political process, and after a long tradition, found that it did nothing for them. Nothing.
Sir, it will do for you. It will do for you. Why did you think
You don't have to
that
convince
Bush
me.
had to do whether he wanted to do? Why did you think the extension of the voting rights, those 2 extensions of the voting rights bill was passed? You think because Bush loved African Americans and Hispanics?
No, because they got the voting machines rigged.
It was the pressure that brought on him. And the pressure can be brought here in Yonkers. And they've done it in Yonkers. I keep saying Yonkers. Yonkers have made a turn. Okay? Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask a question. I'd like to ask a question. I think that, this is a very good story that she told that explains why we need an Ossining grant. I think the reason that no one responded to her when she told Yonkers and she told Cleveland and so forth is that, we're in Ossining. We had an Ossining grant, and as far as I can tell, for 2 years now, we've been blocked from continuing to have an Ossining branch, I think by you.
Yep.
I might be wrong, but my
question
is...
Yeah. Say what you read. I'll take that.
Explain why for the last 2 years we have been unable to reestablish the Ossining brand.
Excuse me, I went over that and I'm not going back. This is the book here. That's when you're not reactivated. And until you come to this book,
Which is for
until you
sale.
come under the rules and the regulation, you might not even have a job. Okay? Sir, let us speak. I've heard what he said. He said 2 years.
Yes, 2 years. In November of 2004, right, we voted and for a list of officers. Okay, Charlie Coker was the president, Suki Sadiq was the vice president, and so on. We were going to start, continue the branch, start it up again, it had been somewhat dormant. And that was blocked, I really do believe, by you. And the promise at that time was that you were going to come in February. Now, this is not February 2006, but February 2005. And now, here we are, and you're here. So my question is, I really do believe that the neglect of the Ossining branch has led to a neglect of concern, of concrete, work on civil rights in our community. And I think that's a real shame. And I think there should be some sort of accounting for why that happened, how we permitted it to happen. So that's my question.
But you have to ask the community, why did they permit it to happen? Why wasn't they doing the work of addressing the local school issue? Why did we get reports if they were doing that? Why did reports come to the national office?
So why do you suggest, because we didn't have a branch.
You did have a branch.
Why didn't we have a branch?
You did have a branch. 2001. You did have a branch. The branch did not do what it was supposed to do. You did have a branch. I didn't come here to argue. I come here to ask the community. I come to ask the community in Ossining, do they want a branch? The people, anybody can join. The people who live here in Austin, the branch is chartered in the name of Austin. Austin. It's not, CC had its own branch. We want to know if the people in Austin want to have a branch. He's going to speak.
I'm Tom Evans, and I am a resident of Austin. And I would say, in answer to your question, I think the turnout here answers your question.
Right.
If there was 5 people here, then no, there's not that much interest. But I do have a couple of quick questions of logistics, all right? One is that Constitution available on the website so we can download it? You're saying?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we don't have to contact you and buy it or whatever? Okay, good. So we have access, everybody has access to it. Secondly, what is the procedure for somebody like myself to establish that I want to be a member of the Ossining NAACP?
You say you've been online 2 days ago?
2 days ago. There is Ossining not listed.
Give me your name and address, and I'll write a letter tomorrow and CC you and transfer your membership into Austin once your check is cleared, your credit card. I have to see your credit card.
If you accept that everybody here is interested in farming, what are the next steps that we need to take?
The next step that we need to take is that Mr. Gilbert will come over here. We will take the list that Mrs. Burke has, see how many members that was here tonight are members of the Ossining branch. That's number 1. 2, how many community residents of Ossining was here. That's number 2. And number 3 is when Mr. Wilbert Austin, it goes through 3 cycles before we talk about any election of officers. So you got a good road to hold if you want this branch to be reactivated.
What does that mean, 3 cycles?
In the article in the paper, we always put what the paper said, it said we needed 50 members in order to have a branch. Is that correct? You're saying
we're not talking about having a branch. You got a branch.
I'm sorry,
if you didn't have a charter,
chapter,
if the charter was gone, you wouldn't even be in here tonight. I didn't submit this charter to be revoked. We revoked charters in February of this year. Austin was not put on the list to be revoked. So that's why it's here. But no, we're not going to have a 50-member branch in Austin. We have quotas for branches across this state, in New York State. 50 is not enough for the number of residents in Austin. So when he come back, he will be going into that. Mr. Bowen has given us, Paul Red, would you get your article over here to Austin so he'll know what about membership, what we're talking about, accountability? No, 15, 25 ain't what we're going for no more, because it becomes a clubhouse. It becomes a pity party. It becomes people doing their own little thing. We want to raise the wrath of this community to be involved in the issues that confront them.
Not everybody can make this meeting.
I was reactivation and asked them to get their membership out. Letters were sent. Letters didn't just come to, he invited the community of Austin to come tonight. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, sister. I'm glad that you came tonight, and I am really grateful for everybody that's here, for all the people that came tonight. I would like to say from the Latino perspective, we have been losing housing through our own eyes. We have Mayor Perillo, ex-Mayor Perillo, when he had a meeting and he called, people on the issue of housing. A lot of people show up. I raised the concern that I had back then, that we are going to lose the low-income housing, and if the members of the NAACP or the African American or Latinos, which unfortunately nobody did anything, neither the black, neither the Latinos, for the housing. So you already have lost at least half of the population in African American and Latino here. In the next 2 years, you will be losing more, because the goal of this village is to get rid of all the low-income housing, as is happening through all the Hudson River. That's not new. Unfortunately, the Latino community is not aware of this because they lack, the leadership that we have, the mayor that we have Latino. He's not working for the community. He's working for his own interest, and he's taking care, the agenda that they have. Unfortunately, this situation is leading to the point that the leaders who are running now, they taking full advantage of this situation and the misinformation that our community has. And they taking the votes to their advantage, knowing that they control the media, they control the newspapers, the people doesn't know that the goal is to get rid of all of us.
Okay.
So now, my point is, when you write your opinion that the other sisters and brothers from other towns are not supposed to be, participating in protests and so on, I would like to tell you that thanks to these people who came from other towns, and we united even from activists, African activists from Yonkers and Brooklyn, is that you see all these people here tonight. Because we all call each other to come and not miss this meeting. Because if you have this meeting alone with whomever we are in charge of the African American here, you wouldn't have more than 8 to 5 people here.
Well, I don't believe that about this community. And we work with the legal defense, with the Hispanic legal defense, or LARASO. We work with them on issues. So I don't believe that this community would let 8 people come to talk about their community, their children. They have something at stake here. They have something. The people who live in Ossining have a lot at stake here. And I can't believe that the people who live in Ossining is going to have 8 people to come out to a meeting. If that's true, there will not be a branch in Ossining.
No.
If that's true, there's not going to be a meeting in Austin. There's not going to be an NAACP meeting. There will not be an NAACP branch. We have consolidated branches. Mr. Gordon, we've consolidated branches. We've got rid of Westchester, what was it called? Northern Westchester. We put them in with Mount Vernon because the distance wasn't good. If the community, I want you to hear me good, I have not said, and it's the last time I'm going to repeat this, anybody who want to be a member of the Ossining branch can do so. Can do so. But what I came here to do is to reactivate the Ossining NAACP branch. That means that the community that live here in Ossining must show up and say yes. That's why there's not a timetable for elected officers, because this is a process. We just did it in Rochester. We just did it in Glens Falls. The community have to tell us they want a Ossining branch. That's what it's chartered for. It is chartered as the Ossining branch. Didn't say anything about nobody else could come in. But it is the people in Ossining must stand. It's the people in Ossining must vote. It's the people in Ossining must raise their voices about the school. Their children go to school in Ossining. Those are the people. The people who want to continue to live in Ossining must say so. That's the issue that the NAACP charter branches in respective communities. So if only 8 people, I don't know. You must know someone I don't know.
The history. She knows the history.
Well, if only 8 people come out, they live in Ossining.
As a person that I have been responding as a human being, not as a politician, because I'm not a politician. But as a human being, I've seen the needs of the lack of housing, police harassment to the community, health care, which is in crisis. We don't have health care here. So, and education for our kids. This is the issue that this community, the Latino and all the minorities and Caucasian as well, we need to come together. And we need to get together, putting aside any difference that we have, and just to get together.
Well, the NAACP works with the Ross. We have a good relationship with the Latinos. And the problem here in Yonkers is no different than anywhere else. Ossining is no different than nowhere else. They getting rid of public houses in New York City. They getting rid of public housing. Bush said in the budget he wanted to get rid of public housing. He says a drain on the budget. So Ossining got the same problem that everybody else have. But Ossining have to get its community to raise its voice. I don't believe that 6 Democrats sitting or 6 Republicans, if they knew that 8,000 people was going to vote. That's what they read. They know they can continue to do what they want to do. If those are the statistics you gave me that happened in the primary.
Before it was 885, 890 in the primary.
Okay.
There'll be 7,000 or 8,000
So you think anybody
in
going to give any
November.
respect to the issues? That's what politicians know.
No.
Politicians go by votes.
Yeah.
Politicians go by votes.
But it's
Who
more-
voted for me to keep me in to continue to do my mess? That's what they look at. You know that's the truth, don't you?
I know that.
I say you know that's the truth, don't
No,
you?
I know it's true. It's not the truth. The truth is a lot more information that the truth holds. What the truth holds in Ossining is that there are institutions that are supposed to serve people here that serve themselves, and they bring people to the political process to act and vote against their own interests. And a larger number of people don't participate because historically they know that's what would happen.
That's what I'm saying now, sir. If the large majority of the people voted, believe me, it will stop. You think Bull Connor and those people decided, did you think that Atlanta, do you think that Maynard Jackson and them just automatically became mayors because people stayed at home?
Let me ask you, if the chapter in Birmingham didn't pay dues or didn't file their reports, would you have cut them off?
Yes. Yes, they can put off. And Paul Red just answered you for it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What organization you belong to?
Let's see, Pacifica Radio.
Okay.
I don't know, a half dozen locally.
All right. Do they have bylaws and constitution?
Yeah, we have some people that have a fetish for those over the work that needs to be done for the community also.
Okay. Well,
And they have the
NAACP.
same problems the NAACP has, and the communities we serve have the same problems the communities you serve do because of that fact.
Well, that's a fact of life. Yes, sir.
No, it's
Yes,
not.
ma'am.
We'll change that.
Well, you change it then, sir. Sir, you won't change it in this organization. You got another organization you want to change
No,
it
that's
in,
fine.
go out and change it.
Quick question, how many people does Ossining need for a branch?
They need 50 people for the branch, but they need from our population from national, the population, okay? And we're going to get it from the Census Bureau, what it is the last count they had.
So it's a percentage of the population of Ossining that we need to be members in order to be a branch?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, is there
I didn't say that.
so we can know?
I said the population, what we're going to go by the census to see what the population of. I'm going to look at, we got national figures now, but we're going to look at the census data because people have moved. I understand that, what the lady said, that you've lost population in the last 2 years and going to lose some more. Okay? We're going to look at that census data, what we did at all across the state. We looked at data to tell branches how many members they should have to have an organizer. To have committees, excuse me, let me explain to you. They have committees working for their accountability. You need people in a branch to take on the responsibility. There is 10 in this book, committees. No branch have 10 committees. The community look at the committees that impact them the most. Criminal justice, health, education. They look at the 10 that was the strategic plan. They can take 2, they can take 3, they can take 5, and they can take 10 if they want to. What they got to do is have a report on the advocacy work that those committees are doing. And those reports are filed monthly.
I understand that, but my point is I'm trying to figure out what is the formula to decide how many people...
I don't have the formula for you tonight. That's why we said this is going to be 2 to 3 meetings, ma'am. We don't have the formula tonight. I don't have a timeline.
Okay, my second question is, if you spoke about 3 cycles, what are those 3 cycles and what is the time period between the time?
I do not have, the notices will go out when I do the timeline and the time periods.
But at least what does it mean, a cycle? You said 3 cycles, what do you mean?
You're mystifying it. We have to know what guidelines there are. You're not explaining that. You're leaving the number vague, you're leaving the timeline vague.
Ma'am, Ossining community.
I know. No, I'm allowed to speak.
I understand.
You know, I don't know how to PhD or nothing, but I understand. I can understand.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know why. You understand?
Like other
Where's the timeline?
they don't stop to vote for children.
Look at it. That's what she's saying.
The NAACP
You want something
and a
done
lot
tonight.
of other communities would be there to assist them, to give the community some hope, faith that there's someone behind them, then they would come out. So that's why a lot of people say, NAACP, let's see what they could do to help us. If you're out there behind them, they would come out. People come out daily. I know my one come religiously to Common Council meeting. I'm told to be quiet, sit down, you don't know the issue, you haven't had training for this, you haven't had training for that. However, I don't live in Austin, I live in Peekskill, I have an NAACP chapter, I have asked them to come with us, come with me on the health issue, the housing issue, the education issue. Only thing that happened, they got a bus, one small school bus, and they were happy. But that doesn't end what's going on in all these communities. All we're asking is you stand behind us so we can have someone behind us so we can group, be in solidarity, and be in unity. That's what we're asking for the NAACP. That's why I'm here.
Let me tell you about the Peekskill. They just, national office, just supported them, had lawyers for them, with an environment justice case. I don't know where you didn't know about it. It made the newspapers.
Because it's very vague. I ran for office. I ran for office in Peekskill as a common council person. I received a Ku Klux Klan letter. I went to the president. I said, we have to do something about this. I went to the mayor. So I went to Bob Spencer. He said, oh, what do you expect? That's Peekskill. I didn't expect that from him. So if I get that from him and I feel that I am someone that's out there in the community trying to get the community together, if he's not behind me, no one has faith in the NAACP. I'm not saying they don't have faith in the Ossining community, but all we're asking is stand behind us when we have concerns, when we have issues, and you'll see us there. We will vote. But no, it's our fault, and it's some people's fault that they don't vote. I understand that. But all we need is some assistance. We need a helping hand that NAACP is supposed to give us. That's all we're asking, whether we belong to this one, whether we belong to that one. Help us out so we can help ourselves.
But when you want to be, if you ran for office in Peekskill, and you have your problem, wouldn't you want to be in your community, making your community strong? You have something to offer. Are you a member of the branch?
I can't get in the branch. I am too progressive for that.
No, they wouldn't take your $30.
They wouldn't take the $30.
It's not about the money,
Well, excuse me, no, it's not funny. No, because if you take your money there, you can go in there and run for office.
They won't take my money. They don't want me there. I'm too progressive. I speak about the injustice of housing. I put people's apartments that have deplorable conditions on TV.
You know what I'm doing tonight? I'm going to enroll you in the Peekskill branch.
Oh, that's going to feel my
I'm going to enroll you.
All right.
Nobody can be denied membership in the branch.
They told me
they can take your membership, but they cannot deny your membership. And the only way they can take your membership from you is that you do not follow the Constitution and the bylaws of the branch. But running for office is not violating the Constitution. Running for office is not violating the Constitution.
I understand that, but all I ask the NAACP is look into this harassment. I was sent a man a letter from the Ku Klux Klan. Bob
President got it. Mr. Durham, oh, what do you expect us to do? I said, and give me some backup. And they didn't. And that's why people do not care for the NAACP. In the city. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mrs. Duke.
Good evening.
My name is John Corlo. Welcome to Ossining, the village of Ossining. I am a former member of the NAACP back in the 80s, and I'm a former elected official within our community. I'd just like to recap some of the conversations that we're having. It is my understanding, listening this evening, that the national NAACP got into a situation that involved more structuring because of our land that we live in, of law, rules, and regulations. And it's my understanding that you're here to ask the people of Ossining, number one, do you want to participate in the NAACP umbrella? And if so, this is what needs to be done. It is also my understanding that anybody, whether you live in California, can join the Ossining and be a member of the NAACP in Ossining. It is also my understanding that people from California can come to Ossining and protest on a legitimized, sanctioned cause that involves the Ossining community. Am I correct so far?
Correct.
Okay. This is a process that we're fortunate in many ways to have to abide by. And I know that there are people here that are anxious that you are here tonight to fill out the form and you're all members. So I encourage the people here that keep this going and meet every 2 weeks and to be in constant contact with your office to get this process put to bed. I have befriended many people of the Star of Bethlehem, specifically, and Reverend Luter. I see no problem of his requesting that people know about this and encourage people to come. I see no problem that people in this room can visit other congregations in this community to get the message out. What I read in the paper is that you need that normally you need 100 people, but in certain cases you can allow 50 people. Well, 100 people should not be a task of a community of 25,000, in my opinion. And I encourage the people to be patient, and you're just doing what your Constitution does, or is in print, and now we now have to take it from here. There's a lot of real problems in the village of Ossining. Some we can address, some we try to address, and some we never address, okay? And that's a matter of fact. We didn't invent the system. There are just stewards from year to year that try to keep the process going. So all I say is that, you know, it's, if you're the contact person, because it seems to me that you are taking that responsibility while all of this is being organized, when somebody has a problem that needs a little push, just like the woman in the front row needs to like to become a member of the Peekskill NAACP. So I just share with the people tonight that let this be a baseline. Let this be the beginning of what your goal is, whether it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months. This time next year, you can look back and say, we are now have our own branch, and it was formed X amount of months ago. So that's what you need to do here. That's what everybody needs to do here. And I encourage that process to continue. And that's about all I have to say.
Letters were sent to every, Mrs. Burt was kind enough to give me the names of the churches, St. Matthew's. The letters went out, addressed to them. Letters will go out again. It will be told to this community at large, where people who want to join will know that they can come and join. We've contacted organizations such as Delta. It was in the newspaper. What was here? So we want to do that. But I maintain to you what I've done, and people can go to national and Ms. Mary Peeler will tell them, this is not the only branch. Paul Red was at the meetings. He's at large. We revoked it. 10 charters. 10 charters. The association revoked them. What we did in northern Westchester, Tarrytown, you couldn't get but 7 or 8 people there. Those branches are no longer available. Why? It eat up our resources. It eat up the resources. And they're not giving anything back to the community. And so, Mr. Gordon has put out, and Paul Red reprinted it. Okay, he's a newspaper man. He reprinted what Bruce Gordon said about membership. So while people want to push that I tell them when they're going to have an election, it ain't happening that way. They will have a meeting next month in October. The notices will be going out from 39 Broadway to people in this community. Anybody else who want to come is welcome, but we are looking for the community of Ossining because that's the charter. You didn't say that. The charter was Ossining.
Okay.
The charter is under Ossining. Okay? That, I'll repeat again, anybody can come. Anybody can join. But what I'm looking for is the problem is the Ossining. Why can't the community of Ossining raise its voice on its problems?
That's an answer that only Ossining can answer.
Absolutely.
But Ossining does have an Ossining Ministerial Association with officers.
Will you give me the list?
Okay, I will make sure that somehow you get that.
Let me give you the email.
Okay.
I have my card.
You have a contact.
Okay, I have my card.
And that would be a good
I will give her my email on my card. Anybody you think in this community that need to be notified of the October meeting. Our state convention is October 6th through the 8th. The meeting will happen after that. I'm in the process of getting my state convention. We will get a date and a time. We will work with the library.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, I don't talk when other people are talking. I don't disrespect people. We will work to get a date with the library, and we will have the meeting back again in October on the same. Mr. Aldridge will come with the census data that we have, and will come with what Gloria Benefield, who's our membership chairperson, who have worked to get the numbers. He will be here with that. That will be the next process. That will be the next process that we do it. Okay? And the process, again, is I said, let me see the hands of people who live in Ossining. The process will be Ossining, that you get your relatives, you get your community out to the meetings. Okay? Is that fair enough?
And to start getting memberships. The last reactivated branch, when I went there in Kingston, I walked in and they handed me 87 members.
A minister, by
that
the way,
shows that you really want it.
A minister, by the way, reorganized Kingston. So this is nothing new. Regardless of what you think or what you said, it's going on all over this state. Kingston just came in. And when they reactivated, they came in with 87 members. What's the reverend name up there?
Reverend Freeman.
Reverend Freeman of the AME Church reactivated that branch, and the community came out.
So how can people join Ossining if it's not online?
You're going to bring the memberships with the money.
To the next meeting.
Bring it to the next meeting, give it to me, I will get it to Mrs. Dukes. Mrs. Dukes will take care of all
I will have Gloria
of that.
Benefield here for the membership part. Ossining, that's your charge, Ossining community. That's your charge, Ossining community. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. How are offices going to be?
We didn't get to that yet.
You'll get all that. You were looking for everything tonight.
No. I just you said something about.
The specifics will occur in the next 2 segments. You will get all of that kind of information.
It takes 6 months. It takes 6 months. It takes 4 to 6 months to reactivate a branch.
Okay. The other side of that question is, the new officers, do they have to work in conjunction with the executive committee? Do they have to be
Ma'am,
elected, do they have to,
Yes.
does the executive committee have to approve them? That's all I want.
No, people are elected, the officers are elected, the executive committee members are elected.
Oh, okay.
The officers cannot do anything unless it is approved by the executive committee. Anybody, we go through a process of nominations, we go through a process of a nominating committee, we go through a process of people being nominated from the floor. There's a whole process. This is not jump up and I'm it. This is not it.
Right.
It's not going to be that way anymore. Okay? It's going to be the people coming in, electing a nominating committee, which will interview people. That's the process. That's the way the NAACP goes. Okay? That's the process. We have processes that we go through. Well, anybody like it, and if they don't like it, guess what? They don't have to be a member of the NAACP. It's clear as that. But there are processes, and we're going to follow the process. Everything in this book is going to be followed.
Well, it's nice to bring copies of that book.
No, this was not to bring copies to the book. This meeting was to ask this community again, did they want a branch to be reactivated? That's what this meeting was called. Okay, and the process will continue of what we're doing here tonight. Okay, and if you want a book, you sign up for it. We will get you the books, and you will pay for them.
Fair enough.
Okay. The price for the books is $5. Yes.
President,
I'm going to give
Peekskill,
Yes.
maybe, because we don't know too much about him. I live in Peekskill, but I don't know the president.
His name is Robert Spencer.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what type of activities he has.
Do you belong to the branch?
I belong to the Ossining branch.
Well, that's what you don't, but that's what you don't know. You don't get, excuse me, if you don't belong to that branch don't send you any notices. They don't send you anything. They only send to people who are members of the branch.
I don't think they do very much.
Well, but that's,
Well, that,
They won't even let people join.
That's
well,
my
I never
problem.
heard of that. I never
the
heard
only
of
way you
it.
change that is to belong to.
I'm a person that belongs, but you also got to bring some action behind it too.
Well,
Obviously, no action.
well,
You
that,
gotta be in it.
That's why I'm an Ossining.
I don't know anything about what he's doing. I get his reports when he comes to his quarterly meetings. He makes a report. He's got his delegates registered to come to the convention. I mean, somebody's doing something.
We don't care about this.
No, they're not doing, he's not doing anything.
Well, that's your opinion.
He only has a certain select people he wants.
Well, let's don't deal with Peekskill. We're here for Ossining. Let's deal with Ossining.
Everybody always want their own, I understand.
How many members are currently enrolled in the Ossining branch?
The last count from Gloria Benefield, who could not come here tonight, will be here at the next meeting, who is a state membership person. She said it was 52 current members, not talking about light members, because half of those probably is not alive, because National have not purged them.
Okay, so there's at least 52 current members already.
We're not counting the light members, because we don't know whether they're alive. We sent out, all of them got notices. Right.
So there are 52 current at least.
That's what Gloria Benefield, who's not here, who have the membership record. I don't have it.
Well, we need to assume that. And that's the best data we have, right?
Absolutely.
And is that actually over the cutoff, right? For a number,
Sir, you're talking about to have a branch. We're not talking about to have a branch. You wasn't here. Sir, the charter of Ossining has not been revoked. The charter of Ossining has not been revoked. So at the time Ossining was a branch, and the time that the Constitution, several years ago, it said 50 members. Since that time, the Board of Directors and Mr. Boyd, who just came in, has asked, and Paul Red reprinted what he said. We are looking at the data and the census of this community to have an active branch where you have committee chairs addressing and being part of the issues that the needs. We are saved from looking at some of the data we have that when we get ready to have an election from this branch, we want to have 100 members in this branch.
When you say you want to, does that mean that there's some rule that there has to be?
There was. There's a rule that the state, excuse me, the state conference in January voted to take the issue of membership, and that's what we've done all over the state, sir. The state who have the right over branches in its jurisdiction to make bylaws. That's what I've done. Is that fair enough to you?
If I understand it, you're saying that now you have to have at least 100 members?
That's what I'm going to have in here before we have an election.
Is that, and is that an absolute necessity as per the rules in that book?
As per the state
As far as the state conference bylaws.
Is there another, where is that?
No, we haven't just changed it. We just reactivate Austin, ma'am. We just reactivate, oh, please. Any other questions? Any other questions?
But the Constitution, the rule book.
Any other? Austin community. Anybody from the Austin community have any other questions? The meeting stands adjourned.
Wait, I'm a member of the Austin community with my hand up. I have a procedural question about the...
I didn't see your hand before.
I said I'm a third generation who brought through my ID. I have the driver's license here.